With me right now is Steve Parsons. He is on the Third Mutual Board. In fact, he is the treasurer. So nice to see you here.
Good to see you, Ken.
And we're not going to talk about finances today. We're going to talk about, you might bring up a little bit, but we're going to talk about several other things. And I mentioned that later on, if folks are watching us in the morning, the M&C meeting is coming up. And that's your first subject, things on the M&C committee today, right?
Right. Just before we get started, though, I'd like to mention about two important birthdays that took place this last week with two very special ladies. One is Juanita Skillman. She's the president of United Mutual, and Rosemary De Lorenzo, who's the president of Third Mutual. So they're two pretty special ladies, and wish them a great happy birthday. I hope they had a lot of fun. I know Rosemary did.
Very good. All right. Happy birthday to them. So the Gate 6 Recycled Water Project, and we've had El Toro Water District on a few times talking about this. Okay,
if you're new or you have not heard about it before, over near Gate 6, we're doing a recycled water project. And this is done through the El Toro Water District, and it's an $8.5 million project to convert about 85 million gallons of water per year to recycle water for irrigation. So that helps us by not taking it out of our drinking water supply. And I know a lot of you are a little concerned about it that are over there now because you may have traffic difficulties or difficulties getting around. So we are there with you. We understand that and realize that it will be done under construction by the end of June, and the whole thing should be operational by the end of December. So we want you to bear with us a little bit, and we know that you're there, and we'll try to make the traffic flow as smoothly as possible. The next thing I'd like to talk about is waistline remediation project. This is a project that, as many of you know, where we have a company, New Flow, that comes out and they go through the waste lines and actually interior lines now. And they roto-rooter out the old crystallized infrastructure of a pipe, clean it out, hollow it out, and then they put an epoxy lining on the inside. And this project, the contract was signed. Ernesto Munoz was able to keep the contract at the same price as last year. And the work is going to be starting here this month in February. So we're looking forward to that. This is a big project for us. Each year it's about $780,000. And we're whipping through these things pretty quickly. Just to give you the magnitude of what we're looking at, in Third Mutual there's 1,405 residential buildings. And already to date, through actually in 2017, we did 128 buildings. They were completed. And to date, we've done 365 buildings. So as you can see, we still have a few to go, just a little less than 1,000.
Yeah.
But because of this, there's been a significant decrease in the number of main line stoppages. When they go in and roto-root it out, of course, it makes more space. Things can flow through better, all like that. So we have a graph we're going to be talking about at the M&C meeting today that shows that. And we also anticipate starting this year a decrease in the number of interior line stoppages, which will help us immensely, even with leaks and things like that.
And a question on that. It was a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken, that a lot of the interior pipes were done, the inflow pipes, we would say. And that just proved to be a really good success. And I forget how many years ago it was, but at the time, people were first hearing about this epoxy coating. I remember hearing about it. I'd never heard of it before. And I guess it's just been, a good success. And now these are primarily the waste lines that you're talking about.
Well, actually, last year, Ernesto Munoz, in charge of our maintenance construction area, actually started going in and they came up with a process of doing interior lines as well. So now we're not just doing the waste lines, we're doing the interior lines at the same time.
Nice, yeah.
And while we're there, it just makes sense to do it all, and then we don't have to worry about coming back, resetting and all like that.
Yeah, very good.
So there's a good cost savings there.
Yeah. And the Garden Villa Breezeway projects, I know not long ago, a week or so ago, I forget how long, but there was a presentation about that. So that is something that you're looking at, I guess, 3 sort of project buildings, test project buildings, right?
Correct. Yeah, for the main floor on Garden Villas, we're doing a test in 3 buildings. That's building 2384, 2385, 2386. And if you've ever been there, on the main level, we have recessed areas where now there's artificial turf. And we've had some problems with people falling down or tripping, things like that. So we're going to replace that with concrete, still keep the drainage the same. But then along the walls, we're experiencing dry rot. And so they're going to do both of these at the same time. So work on that is going to start here within 3 weeks. Plants will be moved to a special location that are out there. People will have their own little area after this. It's still considered common area, but they have usable space right in front of their door. So they can put out some of their own plants and some lawn furniture that's nice. They still feel like that they have their own little community there. So we're using these 3 buildings as a test to see how we want to proceed from then on.
And each one of these, if I'm not mistaken, will take about 5 weeks, something
From
like
beginning
that?
to end, yeah.
Yeah,
It depends on the
something like 5, 6
severity
weeks.
of the dry rot.
Okay.
Yeah, because right where the landing meets the walls, right there, they've got to cut all that out, go back into it, and then see what the damage is and repair all that. So that's the major part of this.
All right. Yeah,
So it's pretty extensive, or it can be pretty extensive.
All right, so now moving on to landscape. And this is something I know you folks talked about, the trash chute cleaning.
Right. We don't know, or we don't have records as to the last time the trash chutes were cleaned and repaired. So last year we looked at it and we said we have enough time between October and December to get a contract in place to start the cleaning. Well, here by the end of this month or by the middle of next month, the cleaning will be done. So now we know what the repairs need to be handled on that, which could be a little extensive because you're dealing with metal and things like that, structures. So as soon as we get close to the end of doing the cleaning, then we'll let a contract. We've already gone out for bids, so that's going to be almost a turnkey operation from one to the other, from cleaning to repair. But people may hear a little hammering or whatever along the line, but it's going to be a lot better in the long run.
Okay, and these are how many buildings? All the 3-story buildings have these?
Yes, they'll be going through all of them to clean them.
Okay.
And so that'll be really good for Gardenville Association folks.
Yeah.
And it'll also take care of some smell.
Yes, I was going to say, how long has it been since they've been cleaned?
We don't know.
Wow.
There's no records that we know of so far.
So that's something you're going to look at doing probably frequently.
Yeah, it'll be on a schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ernest will be sure of that.
All right. Clubhouse entry signs are going to be going up at clubhouses 2 and 7 and gate 4, and going to be cleaning up some of the other signs as well.
Yeah, Bruce Hartley wanted us to advertise this so that people knew that we are on the sign campaign here to clean them up, put them where they need to be, and make them look better. So overall, we do have another program that's more extensive for building signs. And we've talked about that in the past. We're going to be talking about that again at M&C this afternoon. So if anybody wants to know about building signs, you're welcome to come in.
Okay, now we're going to talk about disaster preparedness, and I'm going to let you just kind of go down your talking points here, and then we're going to be showing you some maps, and the maps are basically where, if I'm not mistaken, where you currently have captains, right?
Correct. And in there we'll show areas where we don't have anybody.
Okay.
Or we have less density of captains, so we need more building captains and cul-de-sac captains.
Okay.
So
and here, just as an example, here in Gate 1, now, of course, some of this is United.
Right,
but,
right.
And are you working with United on this? So does this indicate both United and Third, or just Third?
As we go through, it will probably.
Okay,
We'll have
okay.
overlap.
Okay.
But it's a joint village project under Chief Moy, Chief of Security. So as you can see here, we have a lot of streets, we have cul-de-sacs, we have buildings where we don't have building captains, and they're marked with the little blue sign. So not to get people worried or anything, but we want to be prepared in case there's an emergency such as an earthquake. So we have building captains who are really our most important people out there on the ground. They know their neighbors. They can check on them. They also know people that might need medications or oxygen, things like that. And that's what we need to know immediately in the case of an emergency. So these people have a special vest they wear so they're immediately recognizable. And then security, as they come around, and the Red Cross, if they're here, or FEMA, they'll be able to target right in on them and get valuable information, timely information.
Okay.
So we have about 100 building captains and cul-de-sac captains now. We need about 150 more. And it doesn't take a lot of time to do this, but it's well worth the rewards of helping somebody out and being prepared.
Right, right. So let's go through the areas here. Gate 1, this is, now, is it the blue where you do have captains?
Yes.
Okay. So you can see at Gate 1, there's a lot of areas that could probably use them here. As we move on to the next slide, Gates 5, I think for the right order, Gates 5 and 6. And again, there's a good view of where you have a lot of building captains, but areas that you don't.
Yeah, the area that's just gray or white, you can see it's a big area there where we don't have anyone. And I don't want this to be misleading, because some of the building captains have volunteered to take 2 or 3 buildings until we can get somebody else.
Okay.
And in other situations, some building captains have assistants, not a whole lot of them, but some of them do. And they fan out to do things quicker. So if you remember during the October shakeout that we have every year, these building captains go around and check on everybody in their area and then come to their assigned clubhouse for reports. And that's what actually feeds back to Tim Moy in the Emergency Control Operations Center here.
Oh, okay.
So then that way they know how to dispatch security, they know how to dispatch medical staff and regular staff if it's during hours of operation here. And the Red Cross would be rolling in. We could get supplies and things like that from them and make distribution. So there's a lot of things that happen real quick.
Yeah. Let's look at the next map, 7 and 8, and the Gate 7 and 8, I should say. And you can see here that, you know, over in this area, they're pretty well spread out.
Right, they are. We have some places over here that may be a little hilly or things like that, but it's not too bad. And you know, there are a lot of captains there, and they do talk quite a bit between themselves. They're pretty neat people. Very responsive, too.
Now, Gate 9 and 10, again, in this area, there seems to be several captains, so this is pretty well, certainly down at the bottom, they're pretty well saturated.
Yeah, they're connecting pretty well, and we still have areas, though, that you can see in here where we need other people. When something happens, we'd like to be able to cover our whole area within about a half hour to 45 minutes.
Right.
That we know if there's fires, we know if there's people that need medical supplies, things like this. And that way the Emergency Operations Center can get up and working quicker.
Right, right. Gates 11, we'll look at the next one here, and this one too has pretty good. I mean, there's certain areas that could use some.
Now, Gate 11 is unique in that it doesn't have a clubhouse.
Right.
So what they're doing is they're augmenting Clubhouse 6, which I'm the coordinator for, by using RVs. And they've got people lined up to use RVs. They are currently making a list of supplies that they can pre-stock in them. So in an emergency, you'd have a rolling first aid group, so to speak. But so the building captains and cul-de-sac captains here can flag them down, and they can do things quickly. They can even transport them up to Clubhouse 6 or Clubhouse 5 as needed.
Okay, and then finally the Gate 14 area.
Gate 14 area, we need more people up there. It's kind of hilly, but the people are great people up there. We do have a good core of building captains that can train people quickly, and they can pick up their area and get to know their neighbors.
Yeah.
So.
All right, very good. So you wanted to hold up a form here, and we can show the folks, and tell us about what this form is. Okay,
this form, I'm not sure where we're zooming in here.
You can hold it up to camera number 1 here.
Okay.
There we go.
This is a medical volunteer registry form.
Okay.
And what we're seeking with this is anybody who is a professional provider, doctor, nurse, something like that, but also people who have medical certificates and things, first aid, anything like this.
Okay.
We're seeking these people out because we would like to assign them certain locations that they could go to immediately and help out. I don't know if you know, but in clubhouses we have 3 distinctive areas set up. One is receiving, one is triage,
Okay.
another is a quiet zone area for people that may need time just to settle down and get a grasp on what the situation is, and with specialty people to help them out as counselors. So that's what we would like you to stop by and fill out.
Where would they pick this up?
You can get it at the disaster preparedness office downstairs.
Okay.
And if you can't come in to get a form, we'd like you to call 949-268-2356. Once again, 949-268-2356. And they'll take your name and number down and get you connected with the Disaster Preparedness Task Force.
Okay.
And with Chief
Yeah,
Moy in
that's
security, who
very
runs
good.
this. So.
All right, and I know if you want to become a building captain, you can also call that same number.
Sure.
Or
sure.
go down to the office here. And you said you still need about 150. So
About 150 people.
all
Yeah.
right, very
Yeah.
good.
A couple other
volunteer
things
you
if I
can.
could.
Yeah, please, please.
Okay, the South County Senior Summit is coming up in April. It's actually going to be held here on our campus in the Performing Arts Center, Clubhouse 3, on the 20th of April. And the emphasis this year that they're going to place throughout Orange County is on preparedness for emergencies. So Chief Moy is working with them a lot on the agenda and so forth like that. But it's going to have other topics as well. But that's going to be an emphasis there. So please mark your calendar so you can come to Performing Arts Center and be part of that. I did it once before and it ended up almost being standing room only.
Yeah.
So get there early.
Okay.
Another thing that Chief has been working on with the Orange County Task Force here for emergencies is how to handle animals and where to locate them in the case of an emergency. For instance, Loma Ridge is now designated to be a care shelter for horses. So in the event something happened, if the horses were not needed for some capacity, then they could be sent over there. People would take them, water them, exercise them, and things like that. There are other locations that are being determined for cats, dogs, things like that. So Chief has a plan for releasing that information, as well as what you need to do to prepare for your animal so they can go and be cared for in the right way and have proper identification and things like that.
Yeah, and we certainly saw this in the state here, some of the fires that we had in areas where, especially for horses, and the problems that for a lot of people, just getting their horses and other livestock out, and you know, sadly, in many cases, they just couldn't. So that's good that we have got the plan.
Well, one last thing I'd like to mention here is we have a Good Neighbor and cul-de-sac captain training coming up on the 7th of this month.
Okay.
And that's at 1 o'clock in Clubhouse 7. So if you're at all interested in being a building block captain or cul-de-sac captain, or if you're a medical professional, come to that training.
Okay.
And I think you'll find it very rewarding and good connection.
Yeah, yes, check that out. Thank you, sir. Always
Okay,
good to
thank
see
you.
you. You take care, and we'll be right back.